It says I'm live. Okay. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 1st of October, 2024. And there's lots I do want to get into today. I'm trying to do shorter videos, but I do share a lot of content. So I'm going to start doing thumbnails on YouTube again. And I wish I could start doing that on Rumble. But that's one thing that if anyone is connected to Dan Bongino or anyone that works with the Rumble owners and founders, creators, then that would be a good recommendation. He's probably talked about that before. I did mention Justin Trudeau yesterday trying to become the next UN Secretary General. I gave my opinions on that, but I didn't share the video, and there is a lot in here that's really interesting. So anyway, redacted. Hold up. I don't know if you're hearing it. It doesn't look like it's just me on the screen. Sorry, I thought they were playing and I'm just sitting here.
The opposition just destroyed the liberal media over that lie. Watch this.
And that's why we have a common sense plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Axe the tax. This will be a carbon tax referendum, a carbon tax election, the words carbon tax, as we saw in the extremely dishonest and fraudulent report from Bell Media-controlled CTV, who's a company that is whose bonds have been downgraded to near junk status as its overpaid CEO empties the books to pay his wealthy friends. And
I will say that left and right media right now, they're not getting it right at all, and neither are a lot of people within cabinet.
Unacceptably and unrealistically high dividend. But the reason why he and his other cronies of that company are going after me is because he knows that I'm standing up for the people against the crony capitalists and insiders like him.
He is.
And Justin Trudeau just appeared on the Stephen Colbert show. I mean, those are two peas in a pod trying to save his job in New York City. David Creighton writes at the Post Millennial. He's got a great YouTube channel as well, Creighton's Right. And he joins us now to talk about all of this. A lot of craziness happening in Canada, David. So it appears that Justin Trudeau has a job for another day.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised how quickly this collapsed around the opposition motion. There was a lot of hope, a lot of encouragement at the very beginning that this was going to mean the end of this Trudeau tyranny, that Pierre Poilievre really was going to get some support from the other opposition parties. Suddenly we have Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the NDP, saying, it's not that I support Justin Trudeau anymore. Remember, I just ripped up our coalition agreement, but I just oppose Pierre Poilievre so much. I am so anti-conservative that I have to support the government. And of course, the treasonous, traitorous Bloc Québécois party, a separatist party that I always say has no business sitting in the House of Commons. It doesn't fight for Canada. It doesn't work for Canadians. It fights for
why is the Bloc able to do that? And anyway,
separatism. But it also supported the Trudeau government in this. And once again, why are they doing that? Are they going to get some favors back from the Trudeau government? Well, of course they are. They have their agenda. It's all about Quebec for the Bloc. But the NDP, of course, we don't know what on earth Jagmeet Singh is thinking from one day to the next. And one day he's talking about ripping up the government, and I just can't stomach Justin Trudeau anymore. I can't stomach the Liberals because they have no credibility. They have nothing in common with the ordinary Canadians they pretend to represent. The next day he's talking about he has to support them. So these are very strange times politically in Canada. But I think Pierre Poilievre has made a point here with this non-confidence motion. He's going to continue to insist the government be accountable to Canadians, which Justin Trudeau continues to refuse to do. He does not want to be accountable. One of his ministers recently said, Canadians don't want elections. It was the foreign affairs minister, actually, Melanie Joly, who said, Canadians don't want elections. They just want us to govern. Well, is he going to be saying that in 2025 if he survives until the next planned federal election? Will he say, Canadians don't need elections. They just need me. They just need the Liberals to continue to govern. This was a very ominous expression coming from any cabinet minister in the Liberal government.
We also have French President Emmanuel Macron is coming to Canada. That's going to be another peas in a pod there. It's amazing to me, the wildly unpopular French President Macron is coming to meet with Justin Trudeau, I guess, to try to bolster support in Canada. This is hilarious. I mean, is Macron well liked in Canada at all? What's the thinking here? I've seen the U.S. press calling it the Obama effect.
He's not, because he's running his country into the ground too. And he's also a liar. This has nothing to do with him dating someone who's trans at all, because who cares? They're both adults. It's the lying, it's the deceit, it's Bridget Macron. People need to look into her and see how old she was when Emmanuel Macron was in school still at 15 years old, and he was 39 years old with kids and a wife. Anyway, it's just lying. And then the certain organizations that these people are rolling in, okay, like the Epstein crew, the Diddy crew, it's not helping humanity. And there are people that are more concerned with that type of a lifestyle and culture than actual, like the more traditional, conservative, caring, nurturing, empathetic societies that people need, right? And anyways, I'm going on all these tangents, and I know this sounds crazy to say this stuff, but if you do your own research, get back to me.
Like they're hoping that a little bit of that love from Emmanuel Macron will rub off on Trudeau.
I'm certainly not seeing any indication of this outpouring of affection for Emmanuel Macron. This is a man who wants to go to war with Russia, with a French military that's almost laughable. And besides that, he's been facing huge protests in his own country. So I don't know where the illusion is coming from that Macron has any popularity in Canada that's going to rub off on Trudeau. Trudeau will accept anybody's popularity at the moment. He's 20 percentage points behind the Conservative Party. He remains in the basement. He's going anywhere possible to get the love and affection he thinks he deserves. He's not getting it from Canadians. Wherever he goes, he faces protests. He faces opposition. So, as I think we're going to be discussing momentarily, he went to New York City to get some warmth and affection, first of all, from the United Nations, where I believe he wants to be the next Secretary General to replace the very aged Antonio Guterres. He was auditioning for a job there this week. Then he goes where? Of course, he goes to see Stephen Colbert, where the audience just thinks Justin is so cool.
I mean, one of the questions, I was actually surprised, he kind of brought up the fact that he's been, not well liked. He talked about the unpopularity and I loved his response. And we can't show any clips of the Colbert Show because we'll get a copyright strike for whatever reason. The Colbert Show in 60 Minutes, they don't want you promoting their show at all and talking about it. So we'll just show you.
Colbert sucks too. Like, no offense. Like no one I know watches him. And if they do, it's just to make fun. And yes, like there's no Republicans that I know. There's no conservatives that I know. No PPC. Like there's really, it's really only like liberals and Democrats that find him popular, which is not surprising. Again, this is left and right, part of the same bird. And like we shouldn't be identifying ourselves regarding our political affiliations and stuff like that. It's just they're politicians.
Some still images here, but what's interesting is that Trudeau said in response to why he's so unpopular, he said, people are taking a lot out on me for understandable reasons. I've been here and I've been steering us through all of these things, and people are sometimes looking at change. Like, what does that mean? So the reason he's
steering us
like disliked in Canada is because he's been steering Canadians through troubled times, and that's why they dislike him. He steered you guys through COVID. He steered you through the Ukraine war. He's your leader, David.
Well, he's steering us to the precipice of disaster. That's where we're going under Trudeau. But this is it's emblematic of an.
I'm going to show this chart again, just because it's shocking. This is a Violent Crimes Severity Index in Canada, 2002 to 2023. So it was going down. As of 2006, it reached a peak for this graph, and then it started going gradually down, significantly down in 2014. Justin Trudeau gets elected, and I don't even know how. Rigged elections, maybe. Mainstream media pushing false narratives to like prop him up in the mainstream and internationally as well, in order to garner support. And anyway, and then look, and he's been in ever since. Look at this. That's under Justin Trudeau. And the premiers and cabinet members, they're all responsible with what they're focusing on. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm going to get to the sun. I just wanted to share this stuff first.
To say, it's not my fault. It's not my problem. Don't you people realize that I'm just essential to your well-being, that I am essential to the future of Canada? This is how he talks now. He was asked about the non-confidence vote, for instance, and he said, you know, it's about power for the Conservatives. And here I am. I don't want power. I'm seeking the good of all Canadians. And he talks in this ego-driven, unalloyed narcissism. Just have Medicare like we have, so you can spend more in your taxes than you already spend for private health care, and you can go outside of the country to find operations that you can't have done because Medicare can't provide them. 100,000 Canadians leave the country every year to go to the U.S., Stephen Colbert, for operations that they can't get in Canada in a timely manner. They'll die before they get the operation. That's how great Canada's healthcare system is.
Yeah, if you have an emergency, maybe you can get help there in Canada. But if you've got I have friends in Canada who've said ear, nose, and throat issue, other stuff, and the earliest appointment they could get was 2026 to go see a specialist to get it taken care of. 2026, like that's Canada's healthcare system. Way to go! It's unbelievable, and it's amazing that he's in New York meeting with the likes of Klaus Schwab at the United Nations and these other individuals, these globalists who are trying to wrest power.
Mark Carney too. He's in these groups and he's looking at replacing Justin Trudeau. I can't even believe that this is the reality we're living in. Oh my God. Anyway.
Away from sovereign governments. That is the plan. Over the weekend, the Summit for the Future, the Pact for the Future, which is what they were signing, basically takes sovereign power away from Canada, away from the United States, and it gives power to the United Nations. No wonder he was in New York. He's wildly unpopular, 33% approval rating for Trudeau. It seems to be the same strategy is being deployed in Canada as it is in the United States, David, which is we don't need voters. We don't need elections. We will just sort of sidestep all of that, and we will just rule. So you like us. We don't need elections. We don't need voters. That's exactly what they're trying to do right now in the United States.
Well, precisely, because when Biden was running for president, people said, don't worry, it's the people around him that matter. Kamala Harris, you don't think she's very intelligent? Don't worry, she's surrounded by some great advisors. And that's the argument. Don't worry about who you vote for. Worry about the people they surround themselves with. And of course, this is insanity. But it comes back to me. There is a stark similarity between the last days of Joe Biden as the Democratic presidential candidate and the last days of Justin Trudeau as the leader of the Liberal Party. 24 hours before Nancy Pelosi deposed Joe Biden as her party's candidate for president, Joe Biden was on the stage literally 24 hours beforehand saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be my party's candidate in the next presidential election. 24 hours later, he was passing the torch to a new generation. And it was just a game. Justin Trudeau was saying the same thing. He just lost another by-election, which we didn't mention. He lost a huge by-election in Montreal, liberal stronghold like Toronto, a seat formerly owned by his justice minister at the time, David Lametti, who resigned his seat after he was demoted as justice minister. Strong liberal seat, though. It was picked up by
David Lametti, Convoy Time. They were both texting each other about employing tanks on.
Well, which really is not popular in federalist Montreal. But Trudeau said even before he lost it, he knew he was going to lose that seat. He said, "I'm not going anywhere." And I thought, where have I heard that before? It sounds like Joe Biden.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't need voters anymore. I mean, yesterday on the show, I described the 28th Amendment in the United States and how they're moving to basically sidestep elections in the case of a mass casualty event, emergency powers. We don't need voters. We don't need special elections. And seems like Canada moving in that direction as well. We don't need elections. Canadians just want people to rule. Maybe Zelensky. Maybe that's why Zelensky's in town. They can learn how it is to cancel elections and learn from that in Ukraine.
Points brought up that I think are really important. Dave, we're killing. Reconciliation. My goodness, sometimes my words are hard to get out. Was yesterday, and I didn't want to get too much into it. I was pressed for time, but I do want to share this from Dan Dix.
This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. An NDP member of Parliament has just tabled a bill that is seeking to criminalize residential school denialism.
So by me even sharing this and Dan Dix sharing this, we have people that are trying to make it a crime. What you resist persists.
The bill is now before Parliament, and it would outlaw residential school denialism, making it a criminal offense to reject, justify, or minimize the damage.
Maybe people don't want me to share this. I'm just kidding.
Ground penetrating radar only Parliament has just tabled a bill that is seeking to criminalize residential school denialism. The bill is now before Parliament, and it would outlaw residential school denialism, making it a criminal offense to reject, justify, or minimize the damage caused by residential schools. Here is the bill, C-413, an act to amend the criminal code, promotion of hatred against Indigenous peoples. And let's hear it from the horse's mouth. This is the member of Parliament herself introducing this bill that she would like soon see become law. Check this out.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to table an act to amend the criminal. If passed, this bill against Indigenous, downplaying the harm caused by the residential school system.
It's hateful to deny that any of this stuff is potentially going on.
Canada, calling irrefutable historical facts.
Irrefutable historical facts. That is an absolute blatant lie. That's fake news if I've ever heard it.
Question. A genocidal project that was recognized as such unanimously in the House.
Major insane claims. Nothing was recognized unanimously as a massive genocide. To support such a claim.
Survivors and their families deserve to heal from this intergenerational tragedy and be free from violent hate. And we cannot allow their safety and well-being to be put further at risk. All parliamentarians must stand firm against all forms of damaging hate speech, including the denial of the tragedy of the residential schools in Canada.
Do not dare deny that any of this happened. If we go back to where a lot of this is stemming from, it's largely from this May 2021 article, remains of 215 children found at former Kamloops, BC residential schools. The only problem, guys, is this is not true. Nothing has been found to this day, but back then it didn't stop, other media. The remains of these children have been found at this Kamloops residential school. You got like the BBC saying Canada is mourning as these remains of these children were found at Indigenous schools. You got this Al Jazeera article. This one unmarked grave is what genocide looks like. Indigenous children whose remains have been found at a residential school. They say 751 unmarked graves have been found. Nothing has been found. This is a psyop of a photo op here, where Justin Trudeau, with his little teddy bear facing towards the camera in his orange shirt pin, is kneeling down to nothing. In fact, what they ended up finding with the ground penetrating radar was anomalies that cannot be chalked up to potential body. The ground penetrating radar specialist, this woman here, who was the one who discovered all this in the first place, she said in her survey, after finding 200 anomalies returned to the interest and leaves across the cliff, she said she stressed that her investigation and home forensic investigating exhibition will provide definitive results. The very person who's responsible for this has to excavate, and that's we will ever.
Uh-oh. It's been so good. My goodness, I'm so sorry about that. That took a long time to get back on.
School site. The excavations are ongoing. No evidence found at unmarked graves related to the Shubenacadie residential schools either. No remains were uncovered at a former Kansas hospital site. 21 spots that were flagged by ground penetrating radar only turned up debris. This is an ongoing, reoccurring theme. It's and speaking of only turning up debris, this one was just from a couple days ago, guys. Just on Friday, just before the weekend. George Gordon First Nation released their findings of its search of unmarked graves near the former residential school site. And what do they find? 8 anomalies were found in this First Nation search. So they're only coming up with big fat goose eggs, everyone. Look at this one. Investigation into potential unmarked graves of First Nations comes up empty. That's according to the RCMP. So literally to this day, not a single bone has been recovered here. Yet they're perpetuating this massive hoax and this massive lie. Now, some of the international news mainstream media outlets around the world started catching on to this. You've got the National Post reporting on the year of the graves, how the world's media got it wrong on these residential school graves. You got the New York Post coming out with this one, biggest fake news story in Canada. Kamloops mass grave has been debunked by academics. Or you've got this from Daily Mail, alleged mass grave of Indigenous children at Catholic schools across Canada contains no bodies. Excavation shows, as experts now suggest, it's proof that the stories were fabricated. I'll ask you guys, is the Daily Mail just engaging in hate speech here? Is the New York Post, engaging in denialism? Is the National Post something that needs to be, criminalized for suggesting any of this stuff?
No.
This is everything I've been saying since the very beginning.
It's intentionally to cause shame and guilt and resentment and animosity and division, because when we're stuck at accessing the lower level emotions and stuff like that, we're not evolving. And this is not to take away from the atrocities that have been committed against Indigenous people. I'm not taking away from that at all. What I'm talking about is this genocide that they're talking about has happened within the residential school system. They're talking about mass graves and dead bodies. That has consistently been looked at by people spending millions of Canadian taxpayers' dollars, because it is important to get the truth. But it's been verified that it has not been. That's not true, right? There have been Indigenous people that have been taken from their homes. There have been Indigenous families and communities that have been pushed out to areas that are more, austere living conditions, more remote, harsher weather conditions, etc., and used as labor and trafficked as well, right? And this is something that has been like all cultures and skin colors essentially have also been impacted by this type of stuff. And that, again, it's not taken away from that. And the fact that they, again, there was sexual abuse, witness accounts and family accounts of when they were in the education systems or in these Catholic schools, for example. And so, that's not taken away from that.
Back in June of 2021, I put this one out. The truth about residential schools' mass graves. It wasn't genocide. In fact,
and while people are focused on what they're considering to be hate crimes, when people are trying to share this, the grave situation, we're focusing on things like saying like there are people that need better, more access to potable water, because there's a lot of Indigenous communities that don't have access to clean drinking water even now. And their living conditions, again, like people that are talking about hate crimes and stuff like that, they have no idea the reality of the world. And they've likely never even been to these remote locations where people are struggling just to survive. And we're giving all of our money to proxy wars that are only profiting the already rich people in Canada and internationally. And it's not going towards the places that it needs to go. And so, again, it's just ridiculous. And we really need to start looking at racketeering within cabinet.
amplifies the war on Christianity. This would be considered hate speech now if this new bill turns into law. Speaking of amplifying the war on Christianity, guys, I also put this out. The Pope's apology just perpetuates this mass grave and genocide hoax. When he, apologized for something, he had nothing to do with and hasn't been proven to be true. I put this out when I was interviewing, people on the streets of Vancouver. And the majority of them were in favor of church burnings as a result of learning about, the so-called 215 bodies. Literally, churches are being burned to the ground, many of them. And all kinds of people here are fully in support of that.
And this is another thing where we're talking about anti-Semitism, which is important, but there's also anti-Christianism, or what I'm going to call it also, that's rampant. But because it doesn't have its own division or unit within Canada to look at, it's not getting the attention it needs, right? Hundreds of Catholic churches all across Canada have been damaged, have been defaced, have been demolished, and even more, right? We're not looking at that stuff, and even people, even the trans shooter that shot up a Catholic school a couple of years ago, killed teachers and children. And this was a Christian school. Anyway.
As I documented. Kamloops mass graves debunked by academics is the biggest fake news in Canada. I reported on that one. Again, this would be considered denialism, fake news, potential for being criminally charged. Unmarked graves investigation comes up empty. No criminal activities found. Surprise, surprise. Again, this type of material would be considered hate speech and denialism. No bodies found after $8 million spent searching for bodies. Mass graves hoax confirmed. Again, should this bill become law, this video right here, which I strongly recommend you watch, this is the most recent one I did in May of 2024. Again, this would be considered hate speech and potentially face criminal activity. Should this MP, this member of parliament's bill, come into law? It's not very likely that it will, but just the fact that things like this are even being brought to the table is ridiculous. Because everybody should be asking the question right now, where are these bodies? If we're contributing millions and millions of dollars to the reconciliation effort, I think it's a fair question to ask. Why has not one single child been found yet to this day? Why are we perpetuating this stuff, teaching young children in school right now that Canada is systemically racist because of this, this history that we have, when none of it has been proven to be true?
Target of opportunity.
Yes. Young children were taken from their family.
Targets of opportunity as well. The more vulnerable are unfortunately the more exploited within societies, and they experience the most trauma, right? And so there are Indigenous women and children and men, but largely women and children, that go missing every single year. Sometimes they're found, sometimes they're not, and there's not a lot of light being put on this stuff. And then also there are other ways to hide bodies, right? Like even Picton Farm. Go into that rabbit hole.
Please, by the Canadian government in conjunction with the Catholic Church to attempt to, assimilate them into society. And there's a lot of bad things that come along with that shouldn't have been done and cannot be ignored. But having said that, there was a great deal of tuberculosis at the time. There was a lot of malnourishment within these children. There was starvations. There was a whole other host of reasons why these kids were dying, not on purpose, as we've been conditioned to believe, to be against, Christians who go out on missionaries trying to, help people in the world, and to completely, paint this nation as a systemically racist nation that is built on genocide. And it's an absolute myth. It's an absolute fabrication, and none of it is true. That's why I said this just the other day. In case you guys didn't know, Truth and Reconciliation Day is coming up, and I'm quite interested in the truth part, because as of now, only anomalies have been detected, and not one single body has yet been found or recovered. Why? Because this is a monstrosity of a hoax, a massive Canadian lie that will steal billions from taxpayers for reconciliation while having zero evidence to support the claim. And that's the truth that people are having a hard time dealing with. So again, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. If this particular bill that is being proposed passes into law, people like me could be, held criminally responsible for pointing out the fact that, not a single bone has been recovered to this day. And,
not a single bone yet. All right. I think I'm going to I'm going to give a little bit of a teaser, because Netanyahu, who is a criminal, who's been a criminal for decades, he had something to say, of course, regarding flat earthers, and somehow tied us into being anti-Semitic. I don't hate Jews at all. I don't. This is frustrating. I don't hate any specific religion or race or class or like none of that stuff. There are individuals like Netanyahu, which just so happens to identify as a Jew, who is a war criminal, who even in 2002 lied to Congress about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to get us into wars and killed a lot of people. And he got a lot of money and fame and attention and notoriety for it. And the same thing when he became the leader of Israel in December 29th, 2022. What happened several months later under him? He's a lobbyist. He's a racketeerist. I don't even know if that's a word or not, but he's involved in that stuff. And he's a warmonger. Because again, like the people that he works with and his circles, they are all people that own these organizations, these corporations, these institutions, and they make, if you want to talk like the Gen X or whatever, they make bank. They're making a lot of bank on pushing this stuff, and including the oil industry is included in this as well, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway.
State on anything. This UN House of Darkness is home court. They know that in this swamp of anti-Semitic bile, there's an automatic majority willing to demonize the Jewish state on anything. In this anti-Israel flat earth society, any false charge, any outlandish allegation can muster a majority. In this anti-Israel flat earth society.
That's a flat earth map.
Flat earth society.
Yeah. So he's talking to the UN, of course. Another criminal organization at the top. And actually, no, because they are also working with criminals that are willing to do all the stuff that they want them to do, like the drug trafficking, human trafficking, arms trafficking, all over the world, like I'm saying, even at the lower levels. And anytime any independent journalists try to get in or people to assist, they're met with sometimes with threats, sometimes with weapons being pointed at them. And I've shared those videos as well. But of course, he's trying to, because again, like he's also friends with the people that are heads of NASA, like the Freemason types, the Skull and Bones, Rosicrucians, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, types, and they're making billions of dollars a year on again pushing a false narrative. And so, without further ado, I want to talk a bit about the sun, because I had a good clip that came from Jaron that I've never watched before, and it was brilliant. So the sun, that's correlated with the seventh chakra. With the day of the week, it's correlated with Sunday, or dimanche en français in French. Leo is ruled by the sun. It's one of the only luminaries that rules over just one astrological or zodiacal sign, or as part of the Mazzalat or Mazzaroth, or again zodiac belt. And correlated with the element gold, the color purple or violet, and I think is a radiating energy that is that does a circular path above us. That's more local and smaller, and than we're being led to believe. And I'm just going to pull up the Gleason map just for a frame of reference. I'm not saying it's the like a perfect map to represent this Earth plane and the sun's travel path, but I'm just going to try to keep it at the sun's travel path. And just to show you before I get into that video, I'll show you a couple images. I've showed this before, but I'll try again. Just gotta load. Bear with us. Because on this map, this is what it is. It's a top-down view. So it's like you're looking from above at the Earth, and and this being a contained environment, and again where the sun is, like I said, closer, and does circular paths above us. And when you map it out or graph it out, it creates a sine wave, which is amplitude and time or degrees, which is measurable distances, and I'll show you just the path it takes, how it's restricted again to this cosmos, and not 93 million miles away, and things like inverse square law, and so many other laws regarding even light, and like in various modalities. It's been consistently debunked. So this is taking a while to load, so I'll just try another image to put up first and see if I can just expand. Okay. So this is not as clear, but it's still a Gleason. Are you seeing that? Yes, you are. Okay. So again, this is just like as you're looking from above down towards the Earth, just to give like again, focusing on the solar path. So I'm just going to go out here for a second and just refer to this. And so so what I believe is the center of the Earth is here, what we're calling the North Pole, and where Polaris is directly above, and where I believe that the wandering stars and other luminaries within their fixed positions within the firmament, they travel in a circular path around. Okay, so they're traveling around. Okay, so even the zodiacal belt across the equatorial ring, which I'll show, that is also proves that they're fixed and then move above us. We're not moving. It's the luminaries and the stars. And so this should be marked to show the Tropic of Cancer. Let me just see here. This is the equator, and it's hard to see. I see the Tropic of Capricorn. No, I don't like this one because I'm not really seeing the visual representations of the Tropic of Capricorn, Cancer, and this is still loading. Okay, I'm going to try one more time. I'm lying. I'll try multiple times because I want to get this right. Let's see if there's another map I can show. There we go. There we go. Okay, you're not seeing it, but I see it, so that's a good sign. Sorry for my hair. I was doing wood all day and basically night yesterday, and I haven't taken care of my hair yet. I don't care because, again, I don't. North Pole location and what I believe to be, again, like a good frame of reference for this Earth plane. You've got the Tropic of Cancer here, and this is the furthest north latitude at 23.4 degrees. North of this equatorial belt or ring, whatever you want to call it, that the sun travels. Okay, so this is the closest it gets to the regions within this what we call hemisphere, but within the areas where 90% of the population is, which is closest to essentially the center or the north, and which is why during the when it's in this location, we experience our summer months. And where you get like the midnight sun, for example, in the North Pole, in the northern regions, and in the further northern regions, because the sun is at its closest point, 23.4 degrees north latitude of this equatorial belt, and so I can get into the seasons too. And so actually, I'll start with that. And so on the depending on if it's a leap year or a non-leap year, on the 20th of March of every single year, the sun enters into Aries as part of the astrological like signs. It enters into that one. That's how we know our sun signs and our moon signs, our rising signs, because these are where they are in reference to our time and place of birth. Anyway, and that's when we have, and that's when the sun is traveling the equatorial belt through the zodiacal belts, or through the zodiacal signs, but on and around the equatorial ring, right? Doing circular paths. And so then we have equal amount of day and night in these regions here, right? Because it's like basically kind of like operating in the middle of them both. And that's on the 20th of March. And again, you can map this out, and it forms sine waves. I'll show that. And then what happens is it starts its travel path closer as we get closer to the summer months, until it reaches this peak, like I said, when it enters the Tropic of Cancer ring, the closest to the Polaris, let's say, or closest to the north and the northern regions. And that's on or around the 21st of June of every single year. And it's at its highest point at this point. And as it's going from Cancer to Leo, and or Gemini to Cancer. Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant to say. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. But anyway, so the sun is at its highest point, and we have the longest amount of days, the shortest amount of nights in the in these northern regions, right? And then for 3 days, it's essentially like we have like the longest days, because again, it's closest to us, where and it's traveling at a slower rate as well, because it's traveling across like a smaller ring, and it's so that we still get that average of 24 hours within a day, right? So the average that it travels, like especially when it's the equatorial ring, is approximately 1,060 miles per hour, depending on what you look at, but it's approximately that, which gives approximately 24,901 miles circumference that it travels. And it travels at a faster rate when we get into the Tropic of Capricorn, but I'll get into that later. So anyways, so from its highest point, when you map it out, where we experience the longest amount of days, shortest amount of nights within this period, it starts its descent from the highest point. And what happens on the 24th of June? We have the Saint Jean the Baptiste Day, at least in some provinces within Canada, and it's celebrated in other countries as well, as the death of a significant prophet or deity or apostle or disciple or whatever. And I believe that this has to do with the representation again of the astrological significance within the Bible, including the 12 disciples or disciples that represent each zodiac sign. And the sun is represented by Jesus Christ. But I'll get into that as well. Anyway. And from its highest points, it starts its descent. Okay, then it's starting to travel, like, again, its circular path above us from the Tropic of Cancer. And then every single day, it does a larger ring, a larger ring, a larger ring. And then back to the equator on or around the 23rd of September of every single year, where again, it's traveling this equatorial ring. And we have equal amount of day and night in both of these regions, what we're calling hemispheres. And then from that, starts its descent into darkness, right? When we started getting into the winter months, where it's colder, and then we have snow and things like that in various areas here, but it's colder, and then we start experiencing longer days and shorter. So correction, the opposite of that, we start experiencing longer nights and shorter days, until it gets to its furthest ring, the Tropic of Capricorn, which is, I just wanted to confirm. That's the right here. Okay, so this is the furthest south that the sun's travel path above us travels, and it's 23.4 degrees south latitude of the equatorial ring, which can be measured out to approximately 1,660 miles for measurable distances, right? And because degrees, again, they're transferable into distance, as people know, and where on or around the 21st of December of every single year, we have we experience the winter solstice. So I forgot to say that as well. So we have the spring and the fall equinoxes, and then we have the summer and the winter solstices, right? And these are the times where the suns are at their most extreme points on their travel paths. So 21st of December or the 22nd of December, depending on a leap year or non-leap year, it's we experience the longest amount of nights, shortest amount of days within the northern regions, and then for 3 days, the sun is still it's still traveling that Tropic of Capricorn path until it starts going in its circular path above us, closer again to the equator, right? And then we start having longer days again. So on or around the 25th of December of every single year, the sun is reborn again. It starts from its lowest point, its absolute lowest and furthest point away from the north, from Polaris, or the center of the earth. Because again, for 3 days, it's considered dead, right? Just like Mithras and Dionysus and Horus and Jesus Christ and Apollonius and Adonis and Krishna and so many figures throughout history. And they're also connected to and correlated to virgin births or immaculate births, and 12 titans or apostles or disciples or followers or whatever you want to call it that are correlated with these figures. It's all just discussing astrotheosophy and the sun's travel path through the zodiacal belt. And so anyways, on the 25th of December, again, a lot of significant figures throughout history are correlated with that date. And then it starts traveling again closer to the equatorial ring again until we get back into our spring season again. And this is every single year, which is why people, when you ask, like, what's your astrological sign? People are like, oh, Capricorn or Cancer or whatever, because again, that's where the sun was at your time and place of birth. And so I'll stop sharing that. I hope that made sense. It's just easier to show a frame of reference. I wanted to show the sine wave path that the sun takes. Possibly, again, this is my interpretations of it, and how it's correlated with again, like sine waves for music and all these other things. I'm just gonna zoom this out, yeah, because I like this image too. Okay, so when you map out the sun's travel path, Tropic of Cancer above, Tropic of Capricorn below, because that's the furthest north and south latitude of the equatorial area that the sun travels, right? This is zero or equator. And then, so the sun is here, and then it starts its ascent, whatever you want to call it, through first through Aries, and then Taurus, then Gemini, then Cancer, then Leo, then Virgo. And then as we're entering into Libra, this is again, we have the spring and fall equinoxes, and we have the summer and winter solstices. And then again, like as the sun travels through the zodiacal belt as well. And the highest point in the summer solstice on or around the 21st of June, as it's going from Gemini to Cancer, like I said. And then as the sun travels from Sagittarius to Capricorn, that's when we're experiencing the winter solstice, when it's at its lowest point, and then starts its ascent again. Brilliant stuff. And then if you, actually, maybe I'll show the astrological wheel as well. So I'm just looking for it. It's just good to have visual representations just for a frame of reference, I think. Okay. I'm still going to share the video. I just wanted to share some images first. Okay, just want to make sure you can see this. Yes. All right. Back to the image. Okay, so this is an astrological wheel, and that's why I'm into astrology and astronomy. And people think these are pseudosciences. But if you're an astrophysicist and you don't know this stuff, then maybe you should talk to your local flat earth astrologer. So yeah, this just gives more like the sun's travel path. And this is also a clock, like what we're experiencing, the sun's movement through the zodiacal belt. It's a divine clock, in my humble opinion, as well. And the moon as well, which is where we get the moons, the months. And so this is 6 a.m. because it's a reverse wheel. And yeah, so 6 a.m. and this is 6 p.m. and this is 12 a.m. and 12 p.m. So it's just even though like the sun is highest in the sky around this between Gemini and Cancer, this is how the astrological wheel is. Anyway, so the sun travels 15 degrees every hour, or approximately 1,030 or 60 miles per hour. Okay, these are facts. And so every 2 hours, it travels 30 degrees, and it just so happens that that's completely traveling through each of the zodiacal signs within the sky. Okay, so every 2 hours, it travels through the zodiacal belt. Sorry, so from 6, 7, 8, and then from 8 to 10, it's in Taurus. from 10 to 12, Gemini, 12 to 2, Cancer, 2 to 4 in the afternoon, 4 to 6, usually like again, like, and it's Aries and Libra. So like even during the day, this is around the time that the sun, again, when it's at the equatorial area, closer to the equatorial area where we're more living in balance and harmony within the what we're calling the hemispheres. And so it does rise and set throughout the seasons, further away, closer, higher, lower, etc. But so again, this is just to give like the anyways, the average or whatever you want to call it, or the clock. It's so hard to explain this stuff because there's so much to caveat with. Anyway, so around the spring and the fall equinoxes, this is generally when we're like around the times that the sun is rising and setting, and then when it's like furthest away from us at midnight and closest to us or highest and strongest at noon. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So anyway, 6 to 8 a.m., 8 to 10 a.m., 10 to 12 p.m., 12 to 2 p.m., 2 to 4 p.m., 4 to 6 p.m., 6 to 8 p.m., 8 to 10 p.m., 10 to 12 a.m., 12 a.m. to 2 a.m., 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And these are usually these are the more esoteric, like dark spiritual signs usually that are represented by more of the darker occult spiritual interests and things like that. I believe that within the astrological belt, there are 7 original planets or luminaries or wandering stars that rule over each of the zodiacal signs. And so I believe that the sun and moon rule over one individual sign. So I believe that Cancer is ruled by the moon, and they're correct with this, and that Leo is ruled by the sun, and it's correct in here. But I believe that for the other astrological signs, I go off the original luminaries or wandering stars, which is, I'm just referencing my chart that I like, that I still have up. It's so Cancer is ruled over by the moon, and Mercury rules over Gemini and Virgo. Venus rules over Libra and Taurus. Mars rules over Aries and Scorpio. Jupiter rules over Sagittarius and Pisces, and Saturn rules over Capricorn and Aquarius. And where we experience our winter months, the coldest months, darkest within the northern hemisphere. Anyway, and so yeah, the sun on a daily basis and a yearly basis travels through the zodiacal belt. Anyway, but I think it's some kind of a radiating magnetic energy source, heating, positive energy, or again, like magnetic ionizing energy. And they get into it. Jaren, this is like awesome friggin' video, man. Kudos. Yeah, he is. Press play, that would help.
What is the sun? The sun is a nearly perfect ball of hot plasma, heated to incandescence by Earth's magnetic field. It is considered a plasmoid. What is plasma? Plasma is the fourth state of matter. It is a supercharged gas. This experiment uses a microwave, some tin foil, and a glass beaker. Plasma can be hot, and it can also be cold. What is a plasmoid? A plasmoid is a combination of plasma and magnetic fields. You can manipulate plasma in many ways, using a magnetic field and frequencies. Many scientists agree that 99% of the observable universe is made of plasma. What is a particle accelerator? It is a series of thousands of superconducting magnets over a large area. A superconducting magnet is an electromagnet made from coils of superconducting wire. They must be cooled to cryogenic temperatures during operation. LHC is comprised of over 1,200 superconducting magnets. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, more than 30,000 accelerators are in use around the world. This map shows the location of some particle accelerators.
Did you hear that? 30,000 accelerators. Unbelievable.
Can
Why
a
would they
particle
even need that?
accelerator
That's just
intensify?
ridiculous. This is
I'm
like-
sorry, say again.
I'm not aware of that many people, that many scientists who are really studying into this stuff, and so I'm kind of wondering why they need so many of those.
Yeah, 30,000? What the hell?
Sounds like
I
they
know.
got a bigger project going on. You know, it's not like they're making these groundbreaking discoveries out of those things every day or anything like that. Just think about how much money it would cost to refrigerate all of that, and you know, to power those things. That's ridiculous.
And they have huge ones. Like I think even Nike has one. Major companies have huge ones scattered throughout, almost like a grid system throughout the earth. So it's very fascinating.
And yet they don't really tell you what they're using them for.
Yeah,
Right,
dark
but-
matter, search my ass, right?
But again, in a realm where our sun is small and local, as opposed to large, very incredibly large and incredibly distant. Remember, what we do here can affect what happens there. Again, go back to some of the work on the earthquakes and how when they were trying to correlate earthquakes and sunspots, that they got stuck on it because there did seem to be a correlation between the two, but it seemed like the Earth was affecting the sunspots, not the other way around. And again, when you start looking at things like this, it starts getting really spooky. So I'll be quiet because this is one of the videos that really, really spooked me out. And I felt a little quiver of truth in it with those little truth bumps that come that, yeah, they're intentionally doing something dark. But I'll go back on mute.
Yeah. Bob Nodell. I think there's a like some kind of a video that celebrates his life and discusses some of the stuff that he was talking about. So like I might share that actually on another video.
Okay. Yeah, it spooked me out too. And you know, I can see the correlation absolutely. And it, like I said, it kind of scares the hell out of me because these people don't seem to care if they destroyed the very place they're living or not, because they obviously know much more about this place than we do. And you know, we have to extrapolate what they're thinking by their actions. That's really all we have, because they're sure as hell not going to tell us. So let's continue.
I'm kind of thinking about microwaves here and about how they kind of get the electromagnetics spinning around like that in order to try and microwave the Earth maybe here. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. There's we can do a whole show on microwave, and in fact, we will. Okay, let's continue.
Sounds good.
And a whole
By
show
the
on
sun
node.
and cause record-breaking heat waves. If the sun is a local plasmoid in Earth's magnetic field, then yes, it can. Inside this light bulb is plasma. Watch as it intensifies when it is in close proximity to the magnet.
Heat waves are pushing temperatures to their highest levels ever recorded. It has reached over 40 degrees in parts of Europe, North America, Asia, and the Middle East. Wildfires have been burning out of control. Experts say heat waves like this have become more frequent because of climate change caused by humans.
Is there evidence that particle accelerators are to blame? Yes. Let's take a look at the 3 areas on Earth with the worst heat waves in 2022.
I have shared these videos before, just I think it was from the source too, just like Jaren's doing.
Now let's compare that to the location of 3 of the largest particle colliders in the world. Here is a video from North Africa, 2017. A strange solar event near the particle accelerator in Saudi Arabia can be seen.
يتوسط الشمس يا سبحان الله سبحان الله توسط الآن القمر توسط الشمس.
This next video is from our friends in Paris, July 2022, very close to the LHC.
I'll do it in English also. It's the apocalypse in Paris, so if you're a tourist, don't come. Don't come. We don't know what the fuck is going on, but it's like the city is.
You know, I actually saw that happen a few years ago, and I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me.
Like chemical contrast.
Because you wouldn't normally expect to look up at the sun and see it, you know, doubling in brightness and going to half brightness. I was just thinking, wow, there's got to be some really weird cloud cover going on. But there is footage of this all over the web, people, all over the world, all over the web. And it's just weird. You know, this is our sun we're talking about. And of course, you guys are fully aware of what, you know, the Bible and Revelation prophecy says about the sun.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, whoa, it's just freaky. And I think that this is not a natural phenomenon. This is absolutely being engineered. I don't know how. I don't even purport to know how. I understand quite a bit about electronics and plasma and stuff like that, but this is way out of my league, but it just scares the hell out of me. So let's continue.
They've always taught me that, you know, in the days of Noah, the world was destroyed by a flood, and then in the last days, the world will be destroyed by fire. And so, like, I wonder about how much of that fire is man-made.
Yeah, exactly. Let's continue.
By fires, arson, and by lasers. I know how that sounds.
I'll do it in English also. It's the apocalypse in Paris, so if you're a tourist, don't come. Don't come. We don't know what the fuck is going on, but it's like the city is burning down, but there's no fires. It's really weird. It's like 40 degrees. So really bizarre, my man. Very, very weird. Okay, pray for me, guys. In case you don't hear from me, then I suffocated. Take care.
Let's take a closer look at the temperature anomalies in Europe over the past 40 years and see if there's a connection with CERN. This data suggests that a plasmoid, like our sun, can be affected by a series of large, superconducting dipole magnets. Further study is urgently needed. A reassessment of the sun's size and distance from Earth is also required.
Yeah, now I have to admit that, you know, these heat waves and these fires, to me, it's pretty clear, especially when you look at some of the footage that has been captured from Northern California, that this is being done, you know, a lot of this is being done by laser systems that are being shot down by either aircraft, well, probably by aircraft. Because when you look at the laser precision, right, that these fires are burning in, it's insane, people.
So just like they can do all these asteroids and everything, you can keep track of exactly where they are. It's not difficult to imagine that they've got a master computer where they actually send these crafts into. They don't really send them there, but I'm saying if you built a satellite or whatever, you're going to build something that's going to go to Juno and take a picture. You build it, they launch it, goes out into the ocean, and then they put a fake Juno that's crafted exactly like the one you really made. They put it into the simulation, and the simulation sends back data. And the person sitting at their computer, that's why all the pictures that we get of space look like computer-generated images, because they exist in here. Just like if I go down here and I want to see, let's say I want to see Ceres. Okay, well, they've got a computer-generated image of it. This is what they take a picture of. This is why planets look like this, because they're computer. It's a computer game. That's the entire universe is a computer game. That's why when Dr. James Gates started digging through the universe, he got to the bottom of it and said it was ones and zeros. Yeah, it's ones and zeros because the universe is ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Just like if you dug to the bottom of this, guess what you'd find? Ones and zeros.
That was so good. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it at that for today. On that note, I will, like I just said, leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.